Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talent League Titan Series. I am your host, Velocity, joined on the analyst by Tish once again, but by Uncooked as well. How are we doing today, gents?
Yeah, it's going pretty well. I'm very excited for this one. We've got a banger game, and obviously I observed the last one, so I know everything that went on, and we've got another banger game for us up here tonight.
Absolutely right, heroic, and make your destiny. So, to our beloved viewers, heroic is a popular name in T1 with very famous players. We can see on the roster Jim, Kayak, Blast, Skiddy, and Uno. This team was a blossom of hope for me. So, of course, Blaz was banging in NA when he joined Team Parabellum, dropping huge amount of kills, double digit in rounds and games. And when he joined back into EU, I was literally rooting for Heroic, good coach, good team, and Arctic beside this team. So yeah, I was really hopeful, but things didn't go heroic way in EUL.
No, absolutely not. They just managed to escape their group, but then they didn't really manage to win. I don't think they won a map after that, even in the LCQ after a loss to Wolves in there, and they were out of that major contention. So they've had a bit of a wait to get to this point. So they've had a bit of time to work on their mistakes, work on their issues, and when you coming into this against a team that is not quite as strong as the competition they would have faced in the LCQ, it's looking pretty good for them to be able to get themselves into a solid position, sort out those issues, and hopefully provide a very good game.
Yep, let's jump into our map bands. Bank will be our game. Heroic will start as attacker. What's your idea on this map bands?
Yeah, I really like Bank. First of all, we saw Heroic ban out Oregon first, so I'm eternally grateful for that. But when it comes to these map bans themselves, there's a lot of interesting stuff to see here. Obviously, we've seen Heroic ban Skyscraper a lot, Theme Park as well. So it's no surprise to see those two coming out in 2023 alone, 12 and 10 bans each, respectively. So very common map to take off the board, and Bank is kind of it's a map that's not banned against them very often, and they don't necessarily ban it the most either, only about a third of the time. So again, not really surprised that we're going here.
Exactly. On the other hand, we have Make Your Destiny, of course not famous as Heroic, but they have been around since 2016 with Gamers Assembly going through EU Challenger League in Quals 2021, then Six Friend Challenger Season 4, and jumped into the Vivid League Season 6 qualifiers. They have interesting stats. They have been banning uh, Order and Cafe a lot, 6 and 4 times, and also banning operators such as Nuke. So, Uncook, I want to know your honest opinion. Of course, we as the analysts rely on the pure stats, but
Yeah.
let's put the stats aside. Do you have a feeling that Heroic has a chance here?
Yeah, I absolutely do, and I just want to say, yeah, I reckon Heroic will win this, but I think Velocity is going to have to hand it to our casters very, very shortly.
Thank you very much, you two, for that very in-depth analysis. Well, over to our casting desk then, where you'll meet two of our very special guests, Infonosis and Jess. It's over to you.
Big thanks to Velocity for the beautiful introduction. If you somehow missed that, my name's Infernosis, joined here by the oh so beautiful Jess Goat. And we've got ourselves a series to start things off for our cast, though obviously there was a game before this. Heroic, heading into this, the obvious favorite, Jess. That's probably inarguable for most of the players and individuals watching the broadcast at home. But if there is a team to put up a fight against them, it'd be one of the teams that managed to tie for first place in the qualifiers. Can they do it? Time will tell, but Bank is a tough map to get the job done.
Cash money. That's what I'm hearing. After all the things that you've just spit at me now, Inferno. And I know the name's Infernosis, guys, ladies and gentlemen. It's just going to be Inferno to me. I break rules left, right, and center. It's absolute pleasure to be back. But since we're jumping into Bank, I'm not going to cut the corners here. I'm not going to beat around the bush, Inferno. This is a tier 1 team going up against a tier 2, tier 3 team. We have to say it like it is. We can't mince the meat here. And unfortunately, this is going to be a tough task. But French teams are known for being really big hitters. And with Thatcher and Nook going off the board, I'm not surprised that Nook is going to be one of those ones. You just don't know what another team is going to bring, if they're going to get those cheesy sort of rush strats happening. And Nook off the board really takes away one of those sets of nades. So I'm happy to see it off the board. I ban it every one of my ranked games. But with Thatcher off the board, also a little bit of a Kayi ban was expected to come in. I'm always worried about French teams, though, Inferno. And I know we just introduced ourselves. We got to really step up the pace here as we jump in. But this kind of team has to do something different. They can't just do everything by the book. They can't follow the recipe here. They're going up against a tier 1 team that last time they played Bank smashed Eminem 7-2. I'm telling you now, they have to bring something brand new to this.
And Heroic's a team that's not necessarily known for playing Bank, so smashing a team like Eminem so heavily is kind of a shocker. They've gone 3-3 for the series whenever they've played Bank in recent time for the last year. I'm assuming that'll probably rise to 4-3 unless, like you said, something changes for Regular Dream. So I think for a map like Bank, like you said, where you have to ban out the Nook, you do not want to deal with the aggressive roamers that are trying to come in quickly, the extra sets of nades, taking out the Kaid for the Electro Claws. Try to make it as hard as possible still, even though you're lacking the Kaid and those Electro Claws, to still entry in towards those sites. But it's going to be a huge skirmish starting up on that second floor, likely to take control over towards Square, where we can see a reinforcement currently going down. And it'll be the responsibility of MYD to slow that down as much as humanly possible, because the likely fact of the matter is, you don't have the, I would say, as clinically talented players as Heroic would have, so you may have to rely a little bit more on some of those cheekier strategies of hiding around in corners.
Speaking of cheeky strategies, did I just see 4 canisters placed around default plant spot? That's ridiculous. I think there's maybe possibly too many happening there, but you know, you can never be safe or sorry, I suppose. But I want to put the precedence here for the viewers right now watching this game is, for Heroic, right now they're in the off season. What they try here should be experimental, and Blackbeard, yeah, I'll take that as experimental. I'm not sure how well it's going to go for Uno here. Doesn't have a lot of movement speed to work with, but overall, him trying to get this server control is really just one piece of the big puzzle that Inferno was talking about before. And I don't know, I'm telling you what, the solo pushing through dirt as one of the slowest operators in the game wouldn't necessarily be my biggest win condition, but you're right. Top down, floor by floor, got the drones in, no one's aware of it, and with the Solus ban, how can you be?
You're making and seeing Heroic move as slow as they possibly can. That methodical top-down approach. Already cleared out quite a little bit of the MYD presence that was initially up on that first and second floor. And there is a great escape available for your player trapped over in your box. Baby Shark's lying in wait over towards side itself. Bomb chassis used as their go-to cover. Looks like they'll take the aggressive stance alongside Fiasco. Baby Shark has a very aggressive idea about where they want to play. They also have another layer of assistance. Juha hiding away inside blue stairs. This is an angle that is greatly assisted by the shield in the back pocket. Lingering behind, Mossberg in hand. You can see Heroic's kind of leniency there. Tendency to sit back and wait for things. Nades more likely than not will be tossed. Maybe have to wait for the Iana to tread their way over. Take some X-Kairos pellets, burn down the hatch, and give your team access as quick as possible. And burn those flashes to keep that player sitting on blue stairs away from the fight for as long as possible before you re-engage wide around that corner. That's where the Toxic Babes will throw this thing down even further.
Inferno, this doesn't even look like my ranked games. How come no one's dead? It's a minute left on the clock, and finally we get our opening kill. And I tell you what, Heroic have no idea. You're probably wondering who's Heroic Cream, who's Cream Heroic. It doesn't matter. We'll get back to it after, because this blue take is absolutely raining terror over MYD. And the biggest thing for us now is, with 45 seconds left, how does a Jaeger alone clutch it out? He's not going to get it. And I tell you what, the biggest thing for me now is working out, is Skitty Cream, is Kayak Heroic Cream, and how many times live on my first cast back am I going to have to say Cream live on broadcast before I feel incredibly uncomfortable with myself?
3. Three
Three.
times is 3 times too many. It feels like half the time. They're having
Once is
fun
too
in their
many
T4
times.
debut, right?
Look, overall, I think it's very obvious what Heroic's trying to do. But hey, sometimes you got to criticize the tier 1 teams. What took them so long? Why is there a Blackbeard in dirt? What took them so long to try and get that blue control? Why did they think they could just muscle their way in? And why does MYD think that the exact same strategy, by the looks of it, is going to be the play? What are they going to change to make a difference maker? Because that lost condition was pretty clear there. They didn't really have the trades. And when they did, they got down to that 3-3. That control over towards the back of site was really lacking, and that's where the weakness comes in. So I'd like to see whether Heroic have a little bit more pace up their sleeves. I'll give them a warm-up round. Don't get me wrong, happy to give them a warm-up round. But overall, MYD now, they know they can hack it. They did that well. They slowed down Heroic, but now Heroic's just going to keep that pace.
Heroic did a wonderful job alongside June with the Mark 14 to try and burst down as much damage towards MYD, and obviously with the assistance from Blaz for a buddy ace between the two of them, collecting for a full house. And obviously warranted success for Heroic, but like you said, it was very slow for them, and it seems like they'll change things up to a degree. Kali is on the board. Honestly, I'm not surprised to see this. A lot of T4 teams and T3 teams will actually rock the Kali down in basement, which is a shocker, but you don't see it through Garage. That's not where you typically see it lying in wait. You typically see the Kali move in down blue stairs with the rest of the team. It gives you a longer angle to fire back from. Seeing it through Garage, which theoretically should be held by MYD with at least one player extending over towards Fire Truck or Ambulance, having that total lack of defense and that extension is just going to give free space to Heroic, who are going to more likely than not take that space for free and use that to escalate the situation faster than they did last round, which notably was quite slow.
Yeah, speaking about speed, I feel like we got need for speed. I don't know how fast that ambulance goes that you were talking about, but they are already in. They're in prime position. And is that Skitty? Is that Kayak? I don't know. One of them manages to get the opening kill onto the mirror, and that's huge. C4 down, no plans and all to be able to work with outside of those smokes. Of course, you've still got 2 more C4s, but you think about the placement in the late round by a lot of these players on MYD, they're not going to be in a position to do the plans and all. So for Juha right now, he's in a really key position, and yeah, I'd bail out if I was the Jaeger as well. Last time it didn't go well for him. And Akali and Grosh, it just seems, I don't know, it seems a little like a circus. Hello? Any shot will do. This is any other gun other than the CSRX. I'm telling you, if only he gets that kill. I promise you. Now they know he's there, or I would dual peek him. He can only shoot one.
It is limited fire rate. Oh. Off screen though. June will eventually be fell. Blast finding a frag back the other way. Heroic maintaining the man advantage for the time being. Baby Shark trapped inside lockers with nary a chance to fire back from, as Fiasco has to take the engagement against the Kali of Uno down in Garage. Will swing wild back towards Blaz, but eventually they'll whip out the CZ and get the job done to close out another Heroic round win. We'll ignore that first shot missed opportunity once again with sniper in hand. Heroic seemingly would want to ignore that. But that is 2 rounds in a row collected for them, and MYD are struggling to find an answer down on the basement. Hopefully they collect themselves here, Jess, and move up to a different side. I think that will be the case.
Yeah, I think the first round was a pretty good indicator that MYD has pretty much no interest in having map control. And that's all well and good. We're thinking about the turtle strike. No, don't cast me back to the 22nd meta. That's not where I'm trying to send you right now. I'm just saying cast your mind back to a little bit more of the time game, the plan denial game. That's the strategy that MYD have. And considering the French playstyle, that doesn't really necessarily mesh with the gun skill I know a few of these players have. So I'd like to see them be a little less scared, play with a little more confidence, and top 4 actually requires them to do that if you want to win. That's a win condition. Movement, you know, having those lines of sight, power positions across the top floor, and of course maybe a bit of verticality depending on what the attackers are bringing. Considering we got the IQ, we got some nades to work with, and an Amaru from Uno, I'm a little worried that I'm saying, bro, Inferno, I'm saying, do your thing, get that map control, take it, be confident, and then Uno just shift W Amaru into the window. I don't know what his plan is with it, but I'm excited to see. And nope, oh, it's the roof. Could have fooled me that it was going to be window, but he's up, and I think, is that a supernova? Oh, please do it. Oh, you know what? Let me get the popcorn. You got popcorn, Inferno? Let's do this.
No, it's upstairs. I'd have to cook it and everything. It would ruin the meshing. You can share yours though. We're actually very close, I'm sure.
They know. He knows. Oh!
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
Inferno?
Uno, out of nowhere, still able to drop through Skylight, taking down Loki. Jewel is able to find something back, but not before losing 2 teammates in quick succession. Heroic have taken the ballsy approach to quickly aggress as fast as possible, and despite that, Uno's gone unpunished. Their teammate of Blaz instead at the other end of the SMG wielded by Make Your Destiny. Jewel finding one frag with the SMG. The UMP, though, not good for a second. Fires back the other way. Cream against Baby Shark. And unfortunately, Cream Heroic is skitty, and this is going to be a very tough matchup here for Baby Shark, who's currently lingering back down here in open area. There's not anywhere really to go. Trying to watch through the open floorboards created. They're nowhere near. Already roaming back up on that third floor. You're going to need to get up to the top here, Baby Shark, because they've got control of the site and you do not.
I don't think Daddy or Baby Shark or whatever we're going with here knows that the diffuser is not in hand. If he can keep playing this, baiting this out, okay, you do you. That shouldn't be possible. No Oryx should be allowed to jump up any hatch unpunished like that. Obviously, we saw there was a lot of contention around the janitor hatch over towards stock originally, but without the diffuser in hand, you had to commit to going for that 1v1 engagement. And I think what was lost there by Cream, I don't know who it is, again, Skitty, Kayak, whoever it was the indecision. There was possibly comms going on between the team about whether or not they should push, where he is, what they should do, wait for him to jump up, and he wasn't in a position to act off of it. That's a first round on the board for NYD, and that is going to be an icebreaker round. That's a round when you win against a tier 1 team and you say to yourself, oh, they are beatable. And that's an important mentality structure to have, because the synergy will come together here a little bit more. And I'm finally seeing NYD do what I had begged them in round 1 and 2, take that map control, be confident. I think that icebreaker round has really kicked that off for us. And if that's so, I'd like to see some epic gunfights on the middle and top floor.
The Mentals have the battle here, Jess, and for MYD, it's very important for them to do this, especially when they're in arguably the toughest group here in the league. Group C, which holds Jihu, which tied with them for first place in the qualifiers alongside 2 other teams, and Heroic and Turkish Cowboys, who were invited teams up to this. So if they wish to make their way out of this group and move on, they've got arguably the toughest battles ahead of them, and even if they can't necessarily take the dub against Heroic, they can find small victories here and there to build up that confidence and maybe bring that over to Jihu or the Turkish Cowboys in their later series. But for now, MYD will take that round win very happily. And unfortunately for us, though, Jess, that means the basement site's back on the board, and that's something that Heroic have had no problems whatsoever dealing with.
Oh, they got a problem now. There's 1 top floor, possibly 2 mid floor. And what I like from Uno is that I'm seeing the most flexible Uno I've almost ever seen. And that's what these sort of different tournaments are about. You can see T1 play. Oh, that was almost a freebie. Love that. A little bit of fire back. That's why maybe a little bit of suppressor might be in the play in the books in the future. But overall, flexing around, see what works, see what doesn't work. The Blackbeard, in my opinion, didn't work. The Kali didn't work. Now you know. Now you could switch over to something else and give it a go. And I think overall now, seeing Blaz on Ace and whatnot, I'm loving the mix around. I think it's working for them. But this roam clear is slowing down considerably. And this is something they haven't burst yet against NYD. Hello? Oh. Okay.
Blaz, slow and steady still, despite being teased with a tantalizing meal in front of them. It won't be the player initially they'll find, though they will manage to DB&O them quickly after the fact. Fiasco off the board and dealt with. That's 3 players for MYD. Typically speaking, this map's not entirely dominated by first blood kills for the victor, but when you find 2 to 3 to 4 more after it's done and dusted. Heroic now looking at a flawless result if it wasn't for the EDD placed right in the way of the Heroic entry. Joom will refrag back, avenging the loss of their 1 teammate in that round. And it'll be a nice, flawless result coming at the end of the day for Heroic, who have had, once again, no problems dealing with that basement site yet.
I like that MYD changed that. They changed their entire thought process. They said, let's roam, let's take that map control. They do a top-down push. Let's try and give them a little bit of kickback, try and take those power positions across the map. However, huddled together, being Dokkaebi called in the middle of Teller and Archives, that's not a lot of map control. You're really boxed in. You're allowing yourself to be pinched. And I think that's a lack of error of understanding how roam is meant to play. You start at the top floor, you get droned out, you shoot the drone, you fade away, you waste more time. Force them to drone again, roam around, fade away, back and back. You're sitting the entire round in Archives. They know this. They can hear the call going off. They can get the drones in to confirm this. So it wasn't a very menacing roam, for lack of better phrases. And I think overall for MYD now, I like Staff in open area, because I think out of all of the sides, this one could be the most fresh in strategy. It can allow for the most creativity in the strategies. Obviously, Castle is
seconds
pretty well
left.
known for the Shrek, but I think overall this will be the one that tells me whether or not MYD have it in them to be able to counter a tier 1 team like Heroic.
MYD on their own game need to be a little bit more decisive when it comes to availability for retreats. Actually having those hatches be open for themselves to drop back down towards site. If they were to extend down to the basement, we do see a player doing so, just barricading over towards garage. Maybe would give them the option for a late stage execute back towards their own site, because eventually the game does get flipped on its head. Once the attack does get that diffuser down, you're now forced to regress onto your own objective, and that's where some of your own util will come back to bite you in the rear. And speaking of bite, the AK-12 does that well. Joom knocking down Loki, and MYD now a man down again. Thankfully not the end of the world for them, and they'll get a quick refrag back. This one on a Cream, who just FYI once again is skitty. It's just an answer you need at this point in time.
I'm glad they've slowed things down now, because with that opening kill, I mean, Loki's had a really low-key impact throughout this entire series so far. I hope it's not getting towards his mental, and I'm just loving the switch around from Heroic. You go from playing support ops over to frag ops, over to flex frag. Everything's different, everything's changing. MYD can't keep up with what the players want to throw at them, and if I'm being honest with you, I think Heroic is just taking everything a little bit by little bit. They obviously have that base strategy, you know, open up the quad wall, get in, we know where we want to plant. But I'm loving this drone from June. That's a free kill. Well, or a free kill for whom it's going to be is yet to be told.
It's a great pre-fire. Great setup there from YD to barely come out on top, getting the, I would say, win in terms of health advantage when getting some damage off towards Heroic. Anything counts, even if you can't finish the job. You can trust in your teammates to do the exact same thing. It's one of the things that separates a T1 team from those lagging down below, say T2 or even T4, like Make Your Destiny are right now. But they're on the grind, and it's still grinding to a halt here in this round. It's gonna up to Heroic to change the pace of this game, and Blaz will do so quite well, knocking down yet another player for the side of Make Your Destiny. It'll be a dangerous fight, teased by last move, but unfortunately for them, the onslaught from Heroic will keep them at bay for too long, and that gives Joom the perfect time to pounce. Vasco off the board. Joom planting the diffuser, trying to engage and flip this match on its head, but it does fall back towards Make Your Destiny, who, despite having a man disadvantage, are still dishing damage till Uno shuts it down, and it's left to Juha on a 1v3. Mage to the 1v2, Mage to the 1v1. Just Blaz left standing, and the damage dealt previously leaves Blaz at only 25 HP with 26 seconds remaining. Juha giving off the beepers, position warranted, but Blaz hiding and has the patience. Sitting inside Printer, Juha will extend towards Kitchen. Doesn't know the exact angle where Blaz lies in wait. There's nothing to tell them. Red time ticking down, 10 seconds remaining. They'll start onto the diffuser. Juha down to half, sticking it to a quarter, and Blaz will strike just in time for Heroics. Round win once again, this time no longer on the basement though, Jess.
It was a good one. That was the best round so far. That really gave substance to this series. And I always tell people, oftentimes the scoreline and the score differential won't give you the clearest indication as to how the match really played out. That round there, round 5, will sit in my mind as MYD having a really good plan, having a fundamental understanding of power positions around the map and how they engage with the sites themselves. I like that. It showed that they had intent, that they had understanding. A little worrisome that there were, you know, utility like castles in pockets. Okay, maybe a little bit of a discussion with the IGL as to where they need to go and why they need to go there. But overall, there was intent, and I could see how that could flesh out into a really good strategy. It's a little default, but that's all Heroic needed to be able to pull it apart. And I think for a lot of what Heroic's doing is, I think they can feel MYD restless around the map. I don't know if you're spotting it, Inferno, but they're a little restless. They move around quite a lot, and Blaz, who's outside Printer window, he's getting freebie after freebie. He's able to engage time and time again. He's not even in the window yet. He's not even engaging inside, but they are giving him access to these gunfights that are unnecessary to take as defenders. For MYD, it's taking that confidence, but also being rest assured with yourself that you can play that time. You don't have to make the hero play. This is their last round to prove to us that they can put a defensive round on the board, and on a map like a Bank, you need to get that round 2 at least.
There's a difference between recklessness and courageousness, and right now for MYD, they're being a bit more reckless than having any amount of courage to their name, and I'm sure facing off against a T1 team surely gets your blood boiling, but You got to keep yourself calm and collected. It's another thing that separates the pros from the semi-pros and down below. For MYD, it's kind of getting tough. Blast will swing down blue stairs, deal with Baby Shark, and now we'll start to pivot up through square stairs and move their way in through square itself, where MYD have seemingly given up quite a lot of control. Finally able to find a frag back. Not too much time has passed. Remember round 1 where no one died 2 minutes in. There's already 2 players off the board within 50 seconds flat.
I like that Fizako is able to put some pressure in those positions where it would be advantageous for him. Second kill on the board. He understands the angles, how they work in his favor. And on a top floor like this, we've said it again, we'll say it, we'll keep saying it. You have to have power positions and power angles. This is one. Macy J would absolutely cringe if he was watching right now. Line of sight open. And I had to throw that one in there because otherwise, you know, I'm sure there'd be many who would be going back on that one and telling me I had an opportunity.
You ruined my ranked games, Macy. I'm just saying it.
Just ruined it. But I will say that this now puts a real big strain on the side of Heroic. No nades in pocket, 4 claymores, but really, what are you going to do with it on the top floor? And how much of the side have they been able to open that? Is it already power positioned, huh?
Whoa.
Is that through the wall from the Macy J hole? No.
A beautiful shot collected for Heroic. I'm assuming based off of intel gathered from the drone game we've seen so well from them. Unfortunately for them, Make Your Destiny will find themselves a kill back in return, giving themselves a man advantage for the time being. Blast trying to work in Selma charge on that hallway hard wall. Loki is in a very good spot to be able to take them down, but it will then be stolen by Juha, leaving just the repelled player of Joom, who unfortunately for them doesn't have the safe space to breach in through that window, so they'll take a smarter approach elsewhere. It looks like they'll drop down onto the terrace side and move their way in through square door.
I mean, at this point, he's got 35 seconds left. He's asking for a big dream. I mean, out of any player that we've seen, absolutely cracked 1v3. But MYD is doing the right thing here. Maybe pepper some shots, maybe have one person engage, as you can see. But overall, they just had to sit and lie and wait. You see any of those square walls open there outside of the line of sight, Inferno? Zero. The access to the site was cut off, and every bit of opportunity that the ace should have been able to present there for Heroic was diminished when they didn't get that square preparation early to mid round. And I think MYD read into that, and they had a really good plan from the mid to late round, and that's where a lot of the defense can crumble. So with that completely out the window now, you're on your attacking side. When I say mid to late round on defense is tough, Inferno.
Attackers need to
Attacking on almost any map. Look, maybe Chalet, you can throw it in there. Maybe there's a border, you can say it's a little bit easier. But on any map, attack is like, it's like making the most beautiful tiramisu. I'm going to bring up an Italian recipe here. A beautiful tiramisu, everything has to be whipped perfectly, created perfectly. The coffee has to be perfect, it has to be made in the perfect utensil. I don't even know what they call it here. My Italian is absolutely horrific. And once it's all made and put together, that's an attack in Siege. But overall, that is very difficult to put together. And you've got 5 people, and you have 5 chefs in the kitchen, and all of them have their own idea about how that's meant to go. It's not easy. And against a tier 1 team, I'm asking you to jump in an Apache helicopter mid-flight and make a tiramisu. Can you do that, Inferno? Can you do that?
I sure can. For those of you who are British and watching, that's like creating beans on toast, and your co-cook decides to instead use rye bread instead of wheat. Or if you're an American, it's like creating a burger and your co-cook decides to put a tomato on it. Just ruins it. So you got to make sure you deny your co-cooks from ruining the opportunity for you, and try to hold on as best as you possibly can. Make Your Destiny slowly moving in. Drones galore. Good job to keep that one ready by low-key. Get them as close as possible to the action. Drop down through hatch into open for Heroic. Just making sure they're constantly pivoting and moving. We're definitely seeing a lot less of, I would say, static playstyle from Heroic's defense so far. They're a lot more mobile, a lot more agile. Make Your Destiny, obviously, we're going for that turtle strategy, not to remind you of the older years, so to say, Jess, of old Siege, where it was truly plaguing the scene. But it is a lot more mobile for Heroic, but it doesn't seem to assist them as much as it could until just now. Uno and Heroic find a kill apiece. Heroic finally dusted by Fiasco. A 2v1 still collectible for Make Your Destiny, but Fiasco's got a lot of weight on their shoulder, and for how already having gone 9-6 to this point, they'll have to make it to 11 if they want to get it done, and Joom denies that well.
I have a theory, Inferno. Now,
game
stick
theory?
with me here. Yeah, I have a game theory. I have a theory about Heroic, and this is their very first debut game here in this league. And of course, there are skill differences. There should be skill differences between tier 1, tier 2, and beyond. And for Make Your Destiny, MYD as we're calling them, they know it's the mountain that they have to climb, and that mountain being Heroic. I've got this theory that half of Heroic are
Attackers
being
need to
let
locate
free,
and defuse
experimentally let free every round, and the other half have to almost stay on site and be good boys. You stay on site, you be there, you protect our site, and the rest of us, we can kind of just go absolutely crazy wherever we want on the map. For example, this round now is Cream, is that Kayak or Skitty?
Skitty, I believe.
Skitty. Now, I reckon this round, Skitty's just allowed to do what he wants. Before, we saw the Vigil running around. Now, I think we see Skitty. And I think just
Attackers have
every
discovered
round
the
letting a
location
player
of a bomb.
have and use their own game sense in a different way, the map knowledge,
seconds
and
to
be able
go.
to manipulate and see what they can do to be able to throw MYD off guard. That's
seconds to
all part of
insertion.
training as a T1 team. Everything can be regimented over time. Of course, you can
Attackers are
learn how to be
moving to
strict
defuse the bomb.
and tough with how the strategies go. But knowing how to play off of your own game sets is something you still need to practice.
You can get quite cold when there's a 5-month-long off season in between. That's why you have things like this to be able to step into and still be able to stay warm, so to say, still cracked on the sticks, some would say, if this was Rocket League and not R6. But for Heroic, they've kind of been on a rebuild in recent time anyways. Having lost a lot of players as to SI, they did do a lot better in Gamers Without Borders for those open qualifiers too. Unfortunately, getting shut down by Eminem, like I previously mentioned, in that final for that one. But they have been doing a lot better. And I think having experience like this in a league like this is another great way to let them feel out how they can be against some competition that may not be as solid as, say, another tier 1 team. And even frag for both sides, though, going 4 versus 4 still. That's 50 seconds again with 2 players off the board. Been a lot faster for Heroic's defense to find frags than it was for Make Your Destiny, especially considering that last round, the first one for Heroic. When you talk about the first defensive round for Make Your Destiny, it took a whole 2 minutes for someone to finally get dusted. But it's still going to be a matter of time. Make Your Destiny have to engage. They're trapped over inside of landing. But, I mean, what are you aggressing here? Skitty, where are you going from? The danger game is here. They'll spot one from behind staircase, and Fiasco still finds the shot out of nowhere to give Make Your Destiny a chance here in this round.
Unnecessary peek out of Blaz there. They knew the nades were coming up towards Elevator. They got the Azama to work with. I don't know why they didn't just keep a barrier off and then walk away and say, hey, not much you can do unless you work out a way to repel Kanto wall. Aggression unnecessarily so, and I think Heroic are just playing with their food at this point. They're just shift Wing at anyone who'll show their face.
Uno is taking the aggressive fight. Why not? It gets the kill. The 9mm is an exceptionally strong SMG when it comes to the defensive side. Unfortunately, at that range, it tends to fall short, but Fiasco falls 2 players to the floorboards. That is the final 2 needed to Make Your Destiny a round win. Now finally on their attack to get the job done. And they'll hold Heroic's victory at bay for the time being. Only a 2-round buffer now dissipating between these 2 teams. A much cleaner attack for Make Your Destiny, though obviously for the Heroic side, they did take some over-aggressive peaks. Like you said, they kind of kept 2 players on a leash on site. The rest, they unhooked the leash, so to say. The collars fell off, and they tried to let them free. And it only came back to bite themselves in the rear in the end.
I'm loving seeing it though. You have to. It's like seeing pro players of any esport. You brought up Rocket League before and whatnot, and just letting them be completely unhinged. Just going, you know what? Do whatever it is you want on the map. I want to see how you operate under no guidance of any strategy. How do you go? How do you move? How do you act? And how do you play with your teammates, more importantly, off the cusp? It's the game sense. How do you do it just in a moment's notice without any plan or strategy given by your coach or IGL? It's a little funky in a competitive match to be able to watch it. But Uno now on the mirror, guess what? Leash is back on. Stay in the side, do your job, look after us, and guess what? The rest of the players will be running around the map. I'm a little worried, however. Fiasco is the heavy character of presence across the map on attack. And that's okay. He's your carry. He's your player that needs to get those entries and be able to make space. There's a couple other players who need to be by his side right now, and I wonder whether they're feeling the pinch. Whether the mental of not being able to get those gunfights in the way that they want and the trades the way that they want them is maybe lessening their confidence in their push. But Juha, he doesn't care. He knows what his job is as a Namaru. And I think he's got a bit of an Uno cosplay here. Already top main stairs. I'm wondering whether or not our friend Cream here is aware of this.
Sure. Juha will take the pivot down stairwell, through lobby, and more likely than not try to take control of back behind desk. For Heroic, We are seeing some more agile players, some more mobility still from their side. Looks like maybe a bit of an aggression coming out from Blaz, who thought maybe we're the first player to swing up for a kill, but instead it will be Joom taking the head clearly off Loki, who unfortunately has had a bit of a tumultuous time here, Jess. 1 and 8 so far on the board. So we did see some successful nades to clear out some space previously. That just hasn't been an option. Wild swing by Juha, going unpunished for now, finally dealt with for that. It'll be DB node for the time being, cleared to be taken down and finished by Skitty. It takes a while to get used to that one. And there goes the other doppelganger that has not been named. It's Kayak for another pickup while June closes for the 4th total in this round. Make Your Destiny a much less clean round as a whole. And it leaves just Baby Shark trapped over by back alley, trying to find a way in. And I'm sorry to break it to you, Electrical is the worst avenue of approach for you, but you at least get a DB and finish off on a June to reward you for your playstyle.
Oh, at this point, I mean, with red pings ringing galore, it looks like a Christmas tree lit up here. It has every opportunity. And maybe if he gets this clutch, he goes from Baby Shark to Daddy Shark, but not going to be. And I think for Heroic right now, you can have fun with this. You can take this as lightly as you want, as seriously as you want. This is what joining other leagues outside of your predominant league is about. There'll be a lot of people say, you know, maybe play a bit more seriously. They're on match point now. Maybe an opportunity for MYD to learn a few things. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Heroic want to play as many games in this league as possible. And if they need to jump out of windows, if they need to aggress, if they find someone by themselves who cannot be traded, they need to push. If that is what their brains and their IGL and their teamwork is saying, they need to do it. Because it's a long off-season, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm telling you right now, you want to fill that with as many games as possible. And Talent League is one of the best leagues to do it in. So why would you put that at risk? They already lost 3 rounds. 3 rounds that many would argue, well, I'm going to say 2 rounds many would argue that was winnable from their position had they not shift W. And now they're in a position to be able to close out. It is a best of 1. So Bang could be absolute cash money for their debut here. And Inferno, look, it went pretty fast, I'm not going to lie. If this is the last round, you and I are going to have to cast again. Not many people know our story, but I asked you to cast with me
A year ago.
A year ago?
5 seconds.
Yeah.
A year
It's been a
ago,
while.
I
It's been a
asked.
while. Project Eris, may she rest in peace.
Attackers are moving
Yep.
to defuse a
I
bomb.
gotta send a picture to Estrella and say, Mom, I made it. Just to swing it all the way forward. But yeah, this has been quite a short one. Unfortunately, BO1 only, so I mean, you get a one and done chance for Make Your Destiny and one and done chance for us. We'll definitely have to throw it back. Heroic, though, on match point. Who is surprised? The other side of the scoreboard is the part where teams and players may be surprised. You said 2 rounds that probably could be climbed back by Heroic. The fact of the matter is the fact that Make Your Destiny has a round on the board where they undeniably had the round from the get-go is impressive against a T1 roster. That's something they're going to have to keep close to the chest and make sure that they hold on to even with a loss here. Be proud of yourselves. Fiasco with a wild swing in through blue stairs. A little bit of assistance coming from Electrical Room. Hard breach with the exothermic charge creates some space and an opportunity for Make Your Destiny to use Electrical as a way to pivot some kills in towards Kitchen, but they'll do it elsewhere instead. Uno caught off guard, Fiasco with the DB&O and finisher to give Heroic a man disadvantage and make it 2 with Jewel catching Blaz off guard downstairs.
Incredible bit of game sense there, knowing that that blue control would be a power position. When you take this Electrical, when you do this particular push, blue stairs can be such a annoyance to deal with once you have that control. And the fact that they were able to take Archives as well, they got a minute 35 on the clock. They have so much time to work with every angle under the sun. When I say that they won that singular round with a lot of confidence, this is going to be another one of the— what the— oh my god, okay, rest in peace, Fiasco, because that is the most ridiculous Fiasco I've ever seen.
Kayak out of nowhere. Fiasco upset about it, but reasonably so. Nice shot in the chat. That's Kayak still holding on for life inside Kitchen and Dining, but it's still going to be there. Once again, Doppelganger, fake name Skitty to find a pickup or 2 now on a Juha. There it is. Kayak to close and secure. This one looked like a Make Your Destiny round, but unfortunately, they'll have to make their bed and now lie in it. With Heroic finding themselves successful with a 7-3 scoreline, closing that one out fairly quickly, and Bank undeniably theirs for the taking.
What an absolute shame. That round, if we're talking about rounds that confidently look like they can go on the hands of MYD, that was one that I was solidly convinced they were able to take. Welcome back to our beautiful faces. Well, my face, and then the beautiful face of Inferno, of course, right next to me. Look, honestly, that game is one that sets a little bit of a precedence here. What are we expecting from tier 1 teams? Yeah, my sort of hypothesis of experimentation, yes, check. They're going to experiment with different playstyles. They're going to experiment with different roles. I don't know if they're going to experiment with different mindsets. I'm not going to pretend like I can read minds, or can I? We'll find out later, I'll tell you that. But I think overall, what can the tier 1 teams do, and how are these other teams that are not quite yet at that level able to deal with it? I think overall, MID put up a really, really good show, and as a French roster with the one Belgian, I have to be nice here. You know, it's almost like a Wolves story when Rise was on there. We're like, it's a French roster. Well, no, it's French with a little bit of a Belgian waffle to, have as a side there. So the roster looks good. That last round would be the one I would VOD review. If I was them, I'd go back on that last round. That was an absolute win condition from that opening frag onwards. They had every bit of plan going for them, and the puzzle just cracked and fell to pieces. So I'd like to see them in future games and see what they have to show.
I believe in stage 1, Heroic was the team that had the most diverse operator selection. They had the most operators uniquely picked by individual players. So seeing them still do a little bit of that pizzazz and some spice into the situation, I'm not too surprised, but I want to see them go even further beyond, right? They are in the toughest group, so to say, but that doesn't mean you won't take everybody down at the end of the day, Heroic. Have some more fun with it. Take it and go ahead and walk with some passion and pizzazz. For Make Your Destiny, you took 3 off the board for Heroic, a T1 team. You've got at least 2 teams in this group that you could feasibly taken down. You've already taken down Jihu inside of the qualifiers. You only lost to one other team. You won't have to deal with them for at least a while, as they're not in your group to be fought against. It's just a question of how much can you do against the Turkish Cowboys? And that's going to be another really tough game for them, and one I hope that they manage to make their way through and really give up a good fight, if not able to take the victory in the first place. My name is Infernosis. I've been joined here by Jesco. It's been an absolute pleasure to cast this game. We're going to go and jump it over to our host and analyst, who will deep dive this one a little bit more and maybe match you up to that Jesco prowess as well.
Hello and welcome back to the host and analyst desk. I am Velocity, and in case you missed it, it was a 7-3 win for Heroic. Joining me on the desk is Noctish and Uncooked. Mr. Uncooked and Mr. Noctish, what are your takes on this match?
Wow, that's what I can say. Make Your Destiny. They certainly put up a bit of a show here inside of this game. Those 3 rounds, yes, round 10 left a little bit to be desired, like we heard from Infernosis and Jess at the end there, but very, very well played from both of these teams. And I have to highlight, with a rating of 1.42, highest rated player in the lobby was actually Fiasco. Put in an incredible effort for his team, but unfortunately the team itself was not able to take it over the line. However, Fiasco and Juho as well, both those players did incredibly well this match.
What an absolute game. Yes, I should agree with you. Everything on this game was exciting for me, but I want to pinpoint something I just wrote down on round 8. Heroic was doing a rotation. If people are a little bit familiar with volleyball, there is a rotation system in volleyball that people change their location and play together, and Heroic, in my opinion, was doing the same. So sometimes we see Uno playing absolutely anchor on the side, holding, and then the next round or previous round going absolute nuts. So it was really exciting for me to watch this. But I want to point something, actually want to continue what Jess said. T1 teams, when they join the other leagues, they are looking for improvement. Of course, Heroic didn't have the best start and the best season they were expecting, in my opinion, but this 5-month break can be an actual opportunity to raise to the expectation they want. I don't want to actually waste more time, because we have dear Anarchic from Heroic to join us on desk for the interview. Velocity, please take it over.
We'll do so once he is been dragged into the See, but yeah, very well, very well said, Nocticians. I mean, this is the reason you are on the desk as analyst today. But while we wait for our interview to come in, and well, we're talking about it, he's here. Hello. Are we here?
I can hear.
Hello. How are we?
Yep, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, let me just flip to my questions in my little handheld notebook. How are we? How are we feeling when I get to the page? How are we feeling about how are we feeling about the win?
Yep, I'm good. It's always nice to win. You're never going into anything to lose.
So, Bank was our map of today's match. So, how are we? Were you expecting Bank? You know, what was the thought process going in? You know, we saw Bank. What was the vision for the map?
I think in terms of that, there's not too much. It was just we wanted to get to a map we're comfortable on, which against most tier 3 teams isn't going to be hard. So we just went for that, and then when we got to the comfortable map, it was easy enough for us to get the win.
Okay, and so another question for me then is, what are your expectations for going further into this tournament, into the Titan series? What are your expectations for the next games? You know, do you think you can move on, or do you think you're going to be faced with some challenges?
I mean, we should definitely move on at least and aiming to win the whole thing. I think we're of course not going to show anything too special playing this, as we do have other events that we want to try and save some stuff for, but we are playing to win. Even though some of the stuff we're doing might not be what we would show in EUL games, for example, we are still playing to win and trying to actually progress through this.
Cool. So we saw Make Your Destiny take 3 rounds off of you, and it was a 7-3 win to you guys. So I just want to ask, what happened in those 3 rounds? You know, personally for me, I thought you guys were going to come in an absolutely clean sweep. Not because you're a tier 2 team, just because I've seen both teams play. I thought you may or may not have had the upper hand. So what happened in those 3 rounds?
I think, well, definitely for 2 of them, for the CEO attack rounds, we were just trying something and it didn't work. We just thought we'd try something random and just see if we can push the site. For the defense round, I think they just played it pretty well. And one of their players was going huge, and I think he got 3 or 4 kills that round, so that also helps for them to get that one round.
Well, I'm going to leave it to our analyst now. Analyst, do you have any other questions?
And Infinosis, that we saw the defenses from Make Your Destiny be very, very sort of bunkered in. They did try and change that a little bit, but when it came to that sort of bunker strategy, did it feel like you were given too much? Did you feel like you were really, really comfortable in that, or was it maybe something unexpected that your team had to adapt to?
I think with the current meta, most teams aren't really bunkering, because if you give teams enough time and enough map control, it doesn't really matter what you do, you're going to lose. So I think it was just easy for them to do that. And then when they were adapting, it wasn't enough, as they're doing it a bit too much on the fly. So the structure wasn't there for them, and it was just easy to break apart or get the kills.
Yeah, for sure. And you said one of their players was going insane. That was, of course, Fiasco, who was just kind of, when you had these sort of aggressive plays, because obviously the way they were playing was very, very sort of bunkery, was it maybe a bit of an unexpected when you finally, that punch did come through from players like Fiasco, from Juhard, from Baby Shark?
I think so, definitely. For a few of the rounds, like, we were a bit surprised that they were kind of actually able to shoot back, I guess. It's a simple way of saying it, but it wasn't too hard to deal with when only one player's doing it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. That's from me. I don't know, Noctish, if you want to add anything else.
Uh, 2023 didn't start as expected for Heroic. So we have a wide range of viewers right now, all from the people watching T1, very persistent, to T3 and T4 viewers joining for the desired team. I want to know, are we going to expect a different Heroic in the next 5 months? Because with the players on the board Blaz, huge amount of frag skill, Uno, the experience, and the others as well. I want to know what is the mindset right now within the team? Are you guys all hyped up for the new season to show what the progress you are making, or you just want to make it step by step and find the little flaws and go on?
I think the biggest issue for us was just the time at the beginning, whereas now we've actually kind of found the structure we want, where we want to fit people, how we want to play, and also getting a bit more used to the meta and what we think we should be doing. So it should be completely different during this off period by the time we're finished reworking everything we want to do.
Perfect. And the last question for Heroic is that we saw sometimes Heroic taking absolutely all the time on their hand, droning, giving the information, and then pushing. And sometimes, like the Amaru jumping out of the skylight, going through for the kills or any flaws. So, can we expect that Hero is going to play with different play styles in each game, so the rivals cannot guess their actual play style or not?
Yep, I think definitely with all the off time, it's a lot of time to be able to actually develop multiple play styles rather than just relying on one. So that makes it less predictable, and it's definitely going to be better for majors and stuff like that, where you have to play multiple games in a row.
Thank you, Anarchic. That was brilliant. Thank you for all the explanation. And finger crossed, we're going to see Heroic, a completely different Heroic on stage 2 of EUL. Thank you for joining us. Back to Velocity.
Thank you, Anarchic, for taking time out of your day to talk to us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our Play Day 1 for the Titan series today. But never fear, we are back tomorrow at 19 CEST here once again. Thank you very much for Noctish and Uncrud for joining me on the analyst desk, and thank you to our two very special guests, Jess and Infernos, for casting tonight. I really felt like I was watching Pro League once more. So thank you all very much for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow at 19 CEST.